Hello and welcome back to Kent Tonight, live on KMTV. Now, as always, on a Thursday, it's time to get all the latest updates on the film and television news from across Kent and beyond, ahead of a brand new episode of Kent Film Club. The show's presenter, Chris Deasy, joins me in the studio. Chris, good evening. Thank you for joining us. Right, we'll start off with some very local film news, in fact. Ramsgate actor and director Mason Antonio Fardo, known for starring in Guy Ritchie's The Gentleman, is holding open auditions for his own heist film. Do you think having a film entirely auditioned in Ramsgate will do wonders for the Kent film industry?
I think it's such a brilliant idea, because you think of filmmakers like Ken Loach, who often use film actors who are not trained, they're not professionals, and they give really gritty, authentic performances. So on the one hand, it's going to have a real local flavour, but just think of what it could do for the film industry, especially when, I've been to the cinema, I was at the Gulbenkian once, and I thought, why is everyone staying to the end of this film? It was partly set in Kent, it involved a magician, had Michael Caine in it. And some people started clapping at the end. Most people would normally have left by that point because they recognised the names, maybe their own, on the screen. So think what it can do for the film industry. It's just a wonderful idea.
And this film is actually an independent one. Some of the production costs will go to the British Heart Foundation as well, some of the proceeds. Is that quite common for independent films?
The trouble with independent films often is that they really struggle to get financed. So actually it sounds wonderful that actually not only are they getting money to be able to make this, but actually there is a charity element to this. And I think it's so important because so many projects, we even had filmmakers on Kent Film Club, we had Juliet and Kevin Short, who have this film about the miners' strike in 1984, and it's such a brilliant project, but of course these things don't just happen overnight. There's all the investment and then all the copyright issues and how far can they go for travelling. So it's just so good when independent films actually appear at all, but this is just a fantastic, all the more reason to go and support it because it's for a good cause. Yeah,
and I suppose that's kind of contrasted with the fact that it's a heist film as well. So you're thinking, where's this money really coming from? That genre of heist films, why do you think it's so appealing?
I remember a few years ago, I mentioned Michael Caine a moment ago, and there was a film with Morgan Freeman in it as well. And you're sort of thinking, why are people attracted to these films? And often it's like The Godfather, they're about family. Why are we attracted to crime? Often people involved in crime or crime films, they often have this, the sacrality of family is central in this. Why do we, it's the whole thing about being attracted to the darker side. Why Goodfellas is another one. It's about being insiders and against a world of outsiders, and that sense of connection and bonds and what it is that's sacred to us. So I think sometimes these films can actually show that they may be about criminals, but it's about the fraternity between the criminals, and why are we attracted to people who have a sense of honour, even if it's not a sense of honour that we might all subscribe to. There's something underlying it that feels universal.
Yeah, and some heist films, they have this twist where there's sort of the Robin Hood, they're stealing from the rich to give to the poor as well. That sort of plays into it.
So ironically, I was trying to find a pun about heart, but of course these films have a heart, quite literally, in these, because often it's people doing this, and it might be for a family member who's ill. There was a film with John Q with Denzel Washington in it, and it's about somebody who holds up a bank. You're thinking that's a horrible thing to do, but he's doing it to make a stand against American healthcare system. So it's these things are quite common in movies.
Okay, let's move on to our next topic now. I don't know how many people would have saw this coming. British rapper Stormzy, he's launched his own company, Murky Film. It's all about giving a voice to the unheard. Now, this is something he's really known for with his music. He's speaking up for the people in a sense. What do you think about that transition from music to becoming an actor, a production company?
And along the way, wasn't he also involved in a scheme to get people through books, to read? There was a sense of, a literacy project. So, he's somebody who's, known for a plethora of things, including, obviously, we know him as a rapper. But there's a lot more going on, and he's an entrepreneur. He's getting people involved. I think that the film that he's starring in has got, 14 and 15-year-old actors in it who've never been in any big production before. So there's a sense here that he's giving back to the very, community. that nurtured him. So that sounds amazing.
Yeah, he's starting out with sort of shorter, low-budget films, casting local talent as well. Perhaps that could fall on Kent's doorstep as well.
And it sounds like our very first story that we were talking about just then. Exactly that, of nurturing local talent. I mean, wouldn't that just be amazing? I mean, imagine being in a lineup, effectively auditioning in Ramsgate or wherever it might be in Kent in order to be in a film, and with all the kudos that will bring.
If they are shorter films with less budget, do you think the appeal will be there? I can imagine the cinemas being absolutely flooded with Stormzy fans, with music fans, and people just looking for that transition to see how it's changed. But then does it have longevity to it? Will people be coming to his production company time and time again, or is it just that sort of excitement to see Stormzy in a film?
It's funny you ask it that way, because I'm thinking in 20 years' time, if you were 15, I mean, I was on TV, a program called Blockbusters when I was about 16, 17. And of course now it's like 30 years on. And you're thinking, well, it has a different element. Imagine that you're a 14-year-old in a film now. Well, your own children or grandchildren down the line are going to be so fascinated that you've done that. So I kind of feel that these things do have longevity because, especially in an age of social media, there's a record of all of these things that can be kept. They're not sort of, shown once and they're never maybe found in somebody's attic, 30 years later. So I actually think that, if you're involved in something like this, the local community will be there. But it's kind of that there are follow-ups to this. If I was like Jodie Foster was only 14 when she was in Taxi Driver, and Bugsy, even before that. So you sort of think, well, you make a film as a child, you might end up with a career like Stormzy. You may end up being the Stormzy of the next generation.
Some people might find it not frustrating, but that it's already quite a densely populated market as it is, and it's already really tricky for production companies to launch and startups to get going. And someone like Stormzy bringing his notoriety with him is going to get him the views, the tickets bought, and the eyes on his films. Do you think there'll be some people sat there thinking, I've studied film all my life, I've taken a while to get to where I am, and it's feeling like it's swept from underneath them?
But it works both ways, because when you have someone like Stormzy who has the name value, I mean, at the end of the day, if I was to try and do what he's doing, I wouldn't be as successful as he is, because I'm not Stormzy. I suppose I could be Timothy Dalton in an alter ego kind of way. There are ways around that. But that's the thing, isn't it? And often, when somebody who has that name value does these really philanthropic things, back to the heart we were just talking about, heist movies with the heart, but actually they're doing something for the local community. And I think that this is just such a really nice initiative. You could say he doesn't have to do it, but he's, people who are great fans of his or not fans of his will still see this as an opportunity to make their mark.
Yeah, and see that crossover as well. Just very quickly, of course, Kent Film Club. Anybody really interesting you've had on recently? Well,
Marion Stewart, that's the episode that you can watch anytime now on our, through our website. And this is amazing because she saw, wait for this now, Bambi when it came out in 1942. She also saw Ben-Hur when it came out every single night. Sounds familiar as somebody who grew up there in 1959. So, talk about nostalgia, cinema history. Don't miss Marion Stewart on the Kent Film Club.
Great minds think alike. Chris, thank you so much.